guys, and welcome back to another video with your two favorite book nerds, Amy
and Kelly.
Today we're talking about the books we read in February. February was actually a really good reading month for me.
Me too.
Yes.
Me too.
Yes.
We really improved upon January in a massive way, for me anyway.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
Yes.
Because it felt just too weird to have you not have read like 20 books in a month. Like, I don't know, it just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
I didn't like how much I had to talk and you didn't talk at all.
I was like, yeah, there it is. I mean, because, and I said it in January too, I started reading Way of Kings in January, which is like 3 long books altogether.
At least 3 books, yeah.
So, you know, I started reading that in January. So it's not like I didn't read anything, I just didn't finish anything.
Yeah, which is understandable, and
yeah.
Kelly has the book over here, so you'll see, if you haven't seen what Way of Kings looks like, yeah, it's a chunky boy.
And, you know, this is
mass market
the mass market paperback, but I've seen the, like, trade paperback and the hardback, and they're this thick. So I'm guessing the print is bigger or something, but they are still this thick. So, anyway, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't be.
So yeah, I started. So again, it's not like I wasn't reading. And there was a book I think that I got fairly far into and I DNF'd it too. So obviously I didn't count that in my January stats. But I was reading, just no good reading.
It happens.
And not finishing anything either. So
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, it happens.
It happens.
Okay, well, I started January.
Jim, okay.
I think, so you can kick us off for February.
Okay, well, I read 9 books. Yay! Yay!
So much better.
So, I read We Sold Our Souls by Grady Hendrix. That was for January's book club.
Mm-hmm.
Right, yeah, because we're in March now. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, I read Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I read A Prayer for the Crown Shy by Becky Chambers. I read Long Live Evil by Sarah Reese Brennan. We buddy read Funny Story by Emily Henry. And as I said already, I can't pick it up. I read Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. I read The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. The Frozen River by Ariel Lawton. This was our February book club book. And I read an indie author called Murder I Spy by Lynn Morrison. And I had 4 4 stars, 3 3 stars, and 1 2 star for an average of 3.3 stars.
Not terrible.
Not bad. It was that 2 star that drug everything down.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it was pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna have to just flip through my book because a lot of my books are either audiobook or like a Kindle, so I don't have physical copies. But I read 13 books.
Ooh,
in
my
February. Yeah!
We did do well,
yes,
didn't we?
We sure did.
Woo!
Woo!
I think we should have had a party of some kind
We
for this
should
kind
have.
of.
You know what I think we need to do is we need to reward ourselves with a book shopping, a triple B, book shopping and
I think that sounds like a very good idea, and I really think we ought to do one that involves cats.
I think that's a great idea.
What would that be,
That would be
I wonder?
Perfect.
Stay tuned for what that is.
We're not conspiring about anything at all. Well, until then, the books that I read in February. Yes. When We Sold Our Souls by Grady Hendrix, like Kelly said, was our book club book for January. I finished it the day before our discussion in February.
I did too.
As is my normal, so yeah. I gave that one 3 stars. I also read Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson, which was my punishment read from Kelly. I gave it 3 stars.
We both read a Brando Sando book.
We did, yeah. I gave it 3 stars.
Better than I thought she would, actually.
Yeah. I also read The Butcher and the Wren by... Oh my gosh, I had my copy of
You
this here
had
the
it,
whole
yes.
time. I'm dumb. Okay, anyway.
Okay.
I read The Butcher and the Wren by Alana
Urquhart.
Thank you.
Yep.
Which I gave 3 stars.
I gave it 3 stars too, I think, when I read it.
I read The Risk by S.T. Abbey, which I gave 3 stars. I read Sidetracked by S.T. Abbey, which I gave 2.5 stars. Scarlet Angel by S.T. Abbey, which I gave 2.5 stars. All the Lies by S.T. Abbey, which I gave 2.5 stars. And Painted All Red by S.T. Abbey, which I gave 2.5 stars.
But by golly, you finished the series,
I
didn't you?
sure did. They weren't like bad books. They just weren't books for me.
Yeah, there
They
you go.
had good things in them that kept me wanting to read them.
Yeah.
But they just weren't for me.
There you
So
go.
there.
I get you.
Yeah.
I got you.
I also read Funny Story by Emily Henry. I gave this book 4 stars. I read Odd Thomas by Dean Koontz. Finished!
Finally!
8 months. It took me 8 months to read this book to finish it. And I gave it 4 stars. It was really good.
It was really good.
Yeah. And I read Hidden Pictures by Jason Recolleck, which I gave 4 stars. I read Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey, which I gave 3.5 stars. And finally, I read the sequel to The Butcher and the Wren, The Butcher Game by Alana Urquhart, which I gave 3 stars as well. So, that left me with an average rating of 3.15 stars in February. Those 2.5 stars brought me down.
Yeah, they
man.
gotcha.
They
They
did.
gotcha.
It's okay.
Okay. Well, I read a total of 3,982 pages for an average length of 442. My longest, obviously, was Way of Kings
But no.
at 1,252 pages. 3 long books in one. And my shortest book was A Prayer for the Crown Shy by Becky Chambers at 152 pages.
I read a total of 3,675 pages for an average book length of 283. My longest was Mistborn, by far.
Mm-hmm.
And my shortest was one of the S.T. Abbey books. I forgot to look to see which one was the shortest, but they were all like 100-some pages, so they're the shortest. It's the only reason if they had been longer, I probably wouldn't have continued
gone
on.
on.
But they were like, the audiobooks were like 2 hours.
Yeah.
So like at that
Yeah.
rate, I'm like, I'm not really wasting that much time, and I am kind of interested to see
Yeah.
what was gonna happen. So
That's like listening to something while you're cleaning your bathroom. I
Yeah.
mean, you know.
yeah, it was no big thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, authors. I had 5 new authors to me and 4 repeat authors. And I will read from all of them again except one of the repeats. I will not read another Grady Hendrix book.
That does not surprise me in the slightest.
I am all done. There is another one, the indie author Lynn Morrison, I'm iffy about. I'm not sure. So I'll when I talk about the book, I'll talk about her.
Sounds good.
But all the others, yeah. In fact, I think most of the others, I have books on my TBR anyway, so I'll be reading them anyway.
Worked out. There you go.
Yep.
Okay, I had 5 authors that were new to me. And 2 that were repeats, and I will read from all of them again except for Alana Urquhart. Sorry, girl. I'm sorry. I love Morbid, and I will still religiously listen to the podcast, but I'm not reading book 3 of the Ren Mueller. No, I can't do it. I can't do it. The ending of the second book, just that was it for me. I also will not be reading from Sarah Gailey again. Did not like her writing style. I won't be reading from S.T. Abbey. Not that there's anything else from S.T. Abbey, because R.I.P., but like there's,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
from, ironically enough, not, I don't know if it's ironic or not, but like some domestic abuse kind of a thing.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, R.I.P. Dang.
Yeah. So.
Dang.
Sorry, but yeah. And everyone else I'll read from again for sure. I know I want to read Tress from Brandon Sanderson.
Mm-hmm.
I won't be continuing on with Mistborn.
Aww.
And I will not be dipping my toes in the Way of Kings.
Yeah, I would not recommend that.
No.
Not for you. Not for you.
No.
I am kind of sad you don't want to read the rest of Mistborn though, because it's not until you get to like the third book.
He killed my favorite character.
Yeah, but
He killed my favorite character.
yeah, but there's still stuff. And it's not until you get like well into book 3 that you start seeing this whole huge overarching plot just all come together. It's like, whoa!
Maybe.
It's amazing.
Maybe.
It's amazing.
Down the line.
Audiobooks, man.
But that's how I listened to Mistborn.
Well,
It was still like a 25-hour audiobook. It took me 3 days to listen to the audiobook.
yeah. Yeah. It took me a month and a half to read this book. All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
We'll see.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, genres. I read 3 fantasy books, 1 horror, 1 romance, 1 mystery, 1 historical fiction, and 1 general fiction. Spread it out. I spread it all out.
You sure did. I had 3 thrillers, 3 horrors, 1 fantasy, and 6 romance.
Well, it was February for you, wasn't it?
It sure was.
Oof.
Honestly, like, yeah. Although one of those romance ones was one of my highest rated books of the month, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Me too.
no one's surprised because I'm
No.
always.
Yeah,
okay.
no. It never is. Okay, so formats. I listened to 1 audiobook. Yes, I am one of those pendant people that you don't read audiobooks, you listen to them. You're still consuming a book, but you're listening.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine. I'm just shocked that you read 9 books and only listened to 1 audiobook.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was, we sold our souls because I knew I wasn't going to get through it otherwise.
Fair. Totally fair.
Oh no, that's not true. That is not true, too, because I listened to Yellowface as well.
Hmm.
Yeah. That's right. Okay.
Still, that's shocking.
Okay,
I'm
so
impressed.
two audiobooks. 1, 2, 3, 4 physical books. And so that leaves me with, that's 6. That leaves me with 3 ebooks.
That's impressive.
Along with Evil, Funny Story, and Murder I Spy. Yep, 3.
Nice.
3 ebooks,
Nice.
which I will now be buying from somewhere other than Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
One of those ebooks was from the library too, I will say.
Which is what we should all start doing.
Yeah.
Now.
And the 2 audiobooks, 1 was from Audible, which I will also no longer be using, and 1 was from the library.
Is Audible a part of
It's an Amazon.
Amazon?
Uh-huh.
Man, now I have to cancel both Kindle Unlimited and Audible.
I'm not canceling Kindle Unlimited
Oh, you
because
did that.
Kindle Unlimited is exactly what it says it is. It is a subscription, and you can read any book in Kindle Unlimited that you want under your subscription. It is exactly what it says it is. I'm just not going to buy
Gotcha.
anything off there anymore.
That's fair.
But I'm still going to do that, but no, I'm probably not going to do Audible either because honestly, it's just too darn expensive.
It really is. Like
I
you
just
only
can't
get,
afford it.
it's like $15 a month. And
For
you
1
get,
credit.
You get 1 credit.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You
could use
I'm not going to do that.
Everand instead. That's what I do, and you get unlimited listening as long as the books are available.
Mm-hmm.
And I pay $12 a month for that.
And you get as many as you want.
Yeah.
So much better deal.
Yeah. They just updated their library too, although I think you have to pay for some of the like newer books and more popular ones, which I don't know how much it cost, but it was more than I was willing to pay at the time.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, it's better.
You know, your local library.
Yeah.
The Libby app.
Mm-hmm.
So just saying.
There's other ways.
There are other ways.
Support the small businesses in your local libraries.
Yeah. And there's definitely many, many more ways to get ebooks. Audiobooks is a bit limited, but ebooks are not. So go somewhere where you actually own what you buy. That when you buy it, and whatever. Yeah. Don't be sleazy about it. You know? Don't hide that you are purchasing a license in the fine print underneath.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's always been there, but you always had the option to download and save, and now you don't. And so I'm not buying it. I am not buying a lease to read. Like, I looked up the next book, War of Radiance. I looked it up. It is $13 on Amazon. So $13 to basically rent the book. And then I went over to Kobo, which is also $13, and there is download and save option. And then I went into, well, obviously Libby, I can get it and read it for free. And then I went to bookshop.org, where you can put in your local indie bookstore and they get credit for whatever you buy off of there. Also $13, and you get emailed a PDF of the book. Okay, I'm done. I'm all done. That's not what we're here for today.
You're right, it's not, but it was good to have it in there.
Yeah, okay.
You know. So, for my last February stat, format.
Yeah.
I listened to 10 audiobooks, 1 Kindle Unlimited ebook, and then I had 2 physical books that I read. So yeah, that's how I read 13 books, is the audiobooks. And that, yeah, if I didn't have audiobooks, I wouldn't read very many books at all, because I just am too busy. And my ADHD is too high anymore. I can't sit and concentrate on a book very well.
That's my problem with listening to them, though, because, like, I love to listen to them when I'm at work, but I get so distracted so easily. Or even if I'm not distracted, I just zone out, and then I'll come back and realize that a whole chapter's gone by and I don't know what happened, and then I have to back it up.
Yeah.
So I don't do it very often. I do definitely do it when I know I'm not going to get through a book otherwise. Yeah, which brings me to the reason that I listened to We Sold Our Souls. I'm not going to talk about it. You can go back and watch our book club video on that. I did give it 2 stars. I just didn't, obviously. I didn't like it. And it was book 3 from Grady Hendrix for me, and book 3 of not liking them. So I am all done now with that. I am also not going to talk about The Frozen River, because we just did talk about it at our book club video. You can go back and watch
Videos.
Videos. Yeah, we had a little technical difficulty in the middle, so there are 2 videos for that one. But I sincerely loved a historical fiction murder mystery told from the perspective of a middle-aged midwife. So, very good. I gave it 4 stars. Let's see. I'm also not going to talk about Funny Story, because that was a buddy read, and we have a whole video on that as well. But again, Emily Henry reigns supreme for romance, contemporary romance books. Okay, I'm also not going to talk about A Prayer for the Crown Shy, because that was yet another video where we read the top rated books on our Goodreads TBRs. So you can go back and read that as well. That for me was the 2nd book in the Robot and Monk series by Becky Chambers, and I didn't really care for it as much as I loved A Psalm for the Wild Built. But I still gave it 3 stars on there. So, okay. Whew. I need to check mark which ones I've said. Okay, that one, that one, that one, and that one. Okay, that leaves me with 5. So first of all, Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. It is the story of, I can't remember her name. I listened to this way too long ago. June, actually, now that I say that. June Hayward. It's told from her perspective. She is a struggling author, a white struggling author, and she is friends with Althea Liu, I think that was her name, who is an Asian American author who is a best-selling author. And one night when they're out and about and together, Althea dies. And well, they're in Althea's apartment, and Althea dies. And in the chaos and commotion following that, June steals Althea's just finished rough draft of her latest novel and then proceeds to rewrite it, clean it up, and publish it as her own. So this is a story about publishing. It is a story about, appropriation, obviously, in many ways, because the story that she stole was a historical fiction story about Chinese workers in World War II France. So again, June is presenting that she wrote a story about Chinese workers in World War II. Anyway, so there's appropriation in many levels. It is also in publishing about own voices and how there is a tendency to pick a token author that you really market and push forward while not really suppressing other people or authors of color, but not allowing them through the gate, so to speak. So they kind of pick their token person. So it's, not so much promoting own voices as showing how they're catering, showing how good they are. It's also about social media. And there's a lot of social media drama in here because as it goes through, several times June almost gets outed and there's all this social media hubbub around it. And there's, of course, June's own, because you're seeing everything from her perspective. So there's her own descent into madness kind of thing. It almost had a Telltale Heart kind of feel at one point. But her depression and her own feelings of self-worth and her casual racism. I mean, it was so amazing to read the way it was just written in so casually and so naturally that you find yourself nodding your head and going, yeah, and then going, no, wait, that's wrong. What?
Wow.
And how recognizable it is. As far as you hear people say these things and think that they're being an ally or being, non-racist, but they are, especially coming from a white person. So there's that, and that really caught me, honestly, is how many times I had to catch myself because those microaggressions are so ingrained in us that it's hard to deprogram your brain sometimes. So that was really interesting. I thought the social media stuff was way overdone. I thought there were times when there was too much angst and agonizing, but June was so devious that kept my interest. And then, like I said, just her falling down, it was almost a Telltale Heart thing. That was really well done. But what I really enjoyed most were the flashbacks where it showed the relationship between June and Althea because they were like frenemies. And those were the best parts to me because it didn't justify June's actions, but you can see where she was coming from with these casual, racism things that she was coming up with. You can see where, obviously, it's hard to explain because their relationship, Althea was not a terrible good person either, and neither was June. And their relationship bordered on toxic. And so you could kind of see where June was justifying what she was doing because of what Althea did to her. And so that was interesting. I felt that needed a lot more in there. But overall, it was really good. It was really well written. It was my first book from R.F. Kuang. And it's not fantasy, which is what she's known for. But
isn't she the one that wrote Babel?
Babel and the Poppy War series too. Yeah. So I ended up giving it 3 stars just because it drug on too long. And I think it wasn't quite hitting on what I felt like were better parts. More interesting to me. There just wasn't enough of that in there. Okay, then I read Long Live Evil by Sarah Rees Brennan. And this is the story of Ray, who is dying of cancer. She's 20 years old. She's dying of cancer until one day a strange woman comes into her hospital room and gives her a choice. You can stay here and you're gonna die, or you can go into the fantasy world of your favorite book series. Nice. And so Ray goes into the story, but when she gets there, the point being, there's a way to save herself. In this fantasy world, there's a flower called the Flower of Life and Death. It blooms once a year, and if Ray can get that flower, she can heal herself with it, and then she can return to her own world. Okay? But when she goes into the fantasy world, she finds out she's not the hero of the story, she's the villain. Oh. And so she has to work through, there's a month until the flower blooms, and so she has to survive this fantasy world being the villain until she's a flower. Yes. It was okay. It was okay. It was kind of like you were talking about, like, there were things in it that made you want to keep reading. I almost DNF'd it. About 15% in, I was like, no, this is dumb. I don't like the language. I don't like the way it's written. I don't like this. And I thought, one more chapter. I will read one more chapter. And holy crap, that chapter, it caught me, and it caught me hard. And after that, there was some slumps, but then she'd pull it out again. And then I thought this was a standalone book until I got to the end and found a flippin' cliffhanger.
Darn cliffhangers.
And it caught me again. I think the book itself, as far as like the writing and the characters, is kind of mediocre. I mean, it's middle of the road. It's not bad, but it's not good either. But yeah, that cliffhanger, man. Now I have to read the second book.
Now, so you understand why I read
I absolutely understand.
Mindfuck series.
I absolutely understand. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I will. The next one doesn't come out till September, but I'll be reading it. I mean, I think it had some really good ideas, and it had some really neat twists that she put in there. It was just the in-between stuff. I mean, it was just like, oh my gosh. Like, you could tell, obviously, Ray was from, this is like a medieval fantasy world kind of thing. And Ray's obviously from present day. And so she's acting weird. Like, she's not even trying to fit in some ways. And there's way too much made of certain things. There's a snake motif through the whole thing that's just like, okay, you guys really need to stop this now. You really do. But the twists and the major events were definitely enough to make me want to keep reading. So I ended up giving that one 3 stars too. Oh, the Whopper.
And not the one from Burger King.
And not the one from Burger King. Yeah, there is absolutely no way to describe this book in any small, for me anyway, in any small fashion. But in this is the first book in the Stormlight Archive, of course. And in this world, there is a war going on. At the very beginning, a king is assassinated by this, obviously, other group. And so the kingdom where the assassination happened, they go to war, a war of vengeance against the group that took credit for it. And they have met on this place called the Shattered Plain. And so it's a really desolate place of like plateaus and deep chasms. And in order for the armies to actually even get to each other, they have to run these bridges that will bridge the chasm so the army can actually get there. So there's this going on, and there's a lot of hints that something cataclysmic happened in order to create these shattered plains. But, so it basically centers mostly around this war and why this other group kind of is the way they are, and a lot of political stuff. But you mainly follow 3 characters, and that is Kaladin, Dalinar, and Kaladin. Sorry. Kaladin was a surgeon turned soldier, and now he's a slave and a bridge runner. And the bridge runner is a very dangerous place to be because they basically carry the bridges and run across these plains, put them in place, and then when the army crosses, they pick it back up, run to the next place. So when they get to the place where the other army is, obviously they start targeting and shoot the bridge runners. So it's basically every run is a suicide mission. Okay, but there's something special about Kaladin because he keeps surviving. Okay, the next one is Dalinar. As I said, Dalinar is the brother to the assassinated king, and so he is the uncle of the current king. And he is known for being a great warrior, has long since been a famed general and all this, but there's a problem. He's starting to have strange visions, and everyone thinks he's losing his mind. And then there's Shallan, who is a young woman who has come to this city to, she basically wants to apprentice with the Princess Jasnah, who is a sister to the current king. But Jasnah is a scholar, and she is at this city that has a famed library, and she's doing mysterious research that nobody's really sure what she's looking for, but it's definitely pertinent to the war on the Shattered Plains. But Shallan comes in. She, on the surface, wants to apprentice under Jasnah and become a scholar, but what she's really there is to steal an artifact from Jasnah to save her family's reputation and fortune. And so those are the 3 major stories that you follow through this book. There are a few others that are thrown in. Like every once in a while you get a POV from Dalinar's son. I don't think Jasnah ever does. But there's I think a priest that has one. There is a guy called Wit who is really interesting. And he's definitely someone to keep an eye on. When you talk about the Cosmere, Wit plays a big part in that. So yeah, I mean, that's just really like this group of people living through this world and positioning into place. And you wouldn't think that for 1,200 pages that would be at all interesting, but it is. I mean, he really probably spent, I bet, 800 pages or so building the world. And I loved it. I loved it. Because obviously, this is not finished with this book. There are 5 books that are all this big. So anyway, it's a very complex story, very complex plot, and I'm not even going to try. That's your major players. Okay, the next one is The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. A cozy fantasy that is also sometimes billed as romantasy. But this is about Kiala, who is a librarian at the Great Library in the city, and she has a companion that is a sentient spider plant. And they live in the library. But rebellion has come to the land, and the rebels are there. They've killed the emperor, and they come and they set fire to the library. So Kiala and Kaz is the spider plant. They have been preparing for this, even though Kiala just could not imagine that anybody would hurt books. But they've been preparing, and so they save as many books as they can, and they get on a ship, and they sail back to Kiala's home island. This kingdom's like a group of islands. And they're thinking that they can go there, they can kind of hide out, protect the books, and kind of go from there. Kiala quickly realizes that she's really not cut out for being very self-sufficient, and she needs a source of income, and she decides to open a jam shop. because the books that she has are spell books. Okay? So in this world, magic is controlled by the emperor. Like, nobody except who he has authorized can perform magic. So she's basically stolen these spell books, and now she's going to use magic in order to create, like, lots of fruits so she can make jam. And in the meantime, she also starts to notice that the other islanders need help with different things. And so she starts coming up with little spells to help them as well, all the time doing illegal magic. This is so sweet. It is very much cozy fantasy, but it has a plot. And I've seen other people like criticize it a little for not having much plot. But I thought it did. And it had stakes. And that was my problem with like Legends and Lattes, is the stakes were very low. And it's not like in this book there were like world-ending stakes. You know, like the world was not going to go to apocalypse if Kiala doesn't do what she needed to do. But it was still life or death stakes for her, and in some ways for the people of this island. Even though it was contained, I thought the stakes were still pretty high, honestly. And I thought that it was a good plot. I thought it wrapped up very well. But definitely cozy, definitely sweet. It is a place and a story where people are kind. For the most part, they're kind to each other. Lots of found family in this one. Huge amounts of found family, which all know is my favorite. So yeah, I really liked it a lot and sprayed it. So I give that one 4 stars. I give Way of King 4 stars too, by the way. And the last one that I have not talked about is an indie book called Murder, I Spy by Lynn Morrison. So yeah, this is like a spy murder mystery story set in 1920s London. So that's what kind of got me to pick it up in the first place. Plus the cover, a very 1920s Art Deco cover. So you've got Lord Rex, Lord Reginald, but they call him Rex, whose friend has been murdered, his friend Freddie. And nobody is seeming to be able to solve this murder, and then it seems like the police have just given up on it. They can't find it, so they're just going to give up on it. And he's not. He owes it to his friend Freddie to solve his murder. And in the process of that, he runs into Freddie's former kind of girlfriend, Theodora. And so he is, you know, he questions her, and she's like, also, we've got to find out what happened to poor Freddie, but there's a lot more to Theodora than what she lets on to Rex. So it's a murder mystery, and these two go off to try and solve Freddie's murder. So, I mean, again, the writing is a bit mediocre, middle of the road. I think at times it tries way too hard to sound like it was written in the 1920s. It goes a little overboard. Rex can't seem to keep his mind anywhere from except on Theodora's perfume and her chest and her gorgeous face, this gorgeous woman. He's like a teenager, and it's like, how are you walking right now if this is the way that you are acting? While Theodora is a little too manipulative, and yeah, I don't know. It was just a little overdone. A little bit overdone. What I did like about it, though, is that it's not really gender swapped, but in this book, Dora is the more experienced kind of investigator, even though Rex doesn't know that. She is, where Rex is the one that's kind of bumbling along, and Theodora's kind of having to lead him through it. So that was kind of interesting for a change. And I mean, the murder mystery was okay. It was okay. There was times it was surprisingly deep, because this is obviously right after World War I. So it did address things like PTSD. Of course, they called it shell shock back then. And, you know, talking about veterans coming back from war when there was no treatment for them. So there was some surprising places. I don't know. I gave it 3 stars. And it's a serial, so this could be read as a standalone. There was no cliffhanger or anything like that. But in the end, you know, Rex finds out more about Theodora, and they're gonna, you know, have another murder mystery to solve in the next book. I just don't know. I just don't think I like these characters enough to want to read more of them. I just don't know. I might try it just to see if Rex can get over being completely drugged by Theodore's perfume anytime that she's in a room. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. So I might at least start the second book just to see, because kind of Rex is now in on Dora's secret, although he doesn't know all her secrets yet. But I don't know. Anyway, 3 stars for that one too, just for certain parts, really. That's probably generous, but I don't know.
It sounds a little generous after you talking about it, but...
Yeah, I mean, it just, I don't know. The way it was written, if there hadn't been interesting points along, I'd ditch it in a heartbeat, because it was trying way too hard to sound like it was written in the 1920s, not like a modern novel set in the 1920s. Yeah, it was just weird. So I don't know. We'll see about that one or not. But yeah. Anyway, that was it for me. Whew.
Okay.
I tried to keep it short too.
Well, I am going to keep it short. I'm really good at short descriptions of books because most of the time I don't know what to say. So
Until you start ranting about something.
Well, yeah, but I didn't have anything that I really felt strongly one way or the other this month, so
Okay.
we'll keep it short. Like Kelly, I will not be talking about We Sold Our Souls. I also won't be talking about Funny Story. Just know that I did enjoy it a lot. I also won't be discussing any of the St. Abbey books because we already talked about that in our highest rated Goodreads video. So all 5 of those can go bye-bye, which leaves me with some books. Okay, 7 books. I can't do math that fast.
5, 6, 7, 5 more.
Oh my gosh, that's
You had 13.
so many.
You had 13, right? Yep,
Yeah.
5 more. 5 more.
6. What?
13. No, yeah,
5,
6.
6.
Yeah, 6. Hey, I talked about 5. You can talk about 6. You'll be alright. 2 of them go together, so.
That's true.
I'll
Okay.
quit distracting you now.
Yeah. Okay, Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. This book is about Kelsier, who is the survivor of the pits, which is like the worst possible hell that anyone could be thrown into. And he's the only one that's ever survived and escaped from the pits. So he's like a big deal. Everyone is like, he's a legend, pretty much. And he decides that he is going to put together an army of Allomancers, which are like people that have the ability to use metals to like have different powers in the world. I'm doing my best to describe this fantasy stuff.
It's a complex magic system, so that's a good description.
Yeah. And one of the people that he is bringing into his team is this young girl who is a Mistborn like him, which means that she has the power to control or to use all of the metals for different powers, because like most of the Allomancers can only use like one metal for one power, and she has the ability to use all of them like Kelsier does. And their goal is to try and bring down the immortal Lord Ruler, who is like, everybody hates him pretty much. And
The Dark Lord.
The Dark Lord.
He's the Dark Lord that won.
Yeah, so that's the plan. Personally, I think the book was too long. This book is like 600 some pages. It's a long book, which I shouldn't be complaining because Kelly read a 1,200 page book, but still, I think overall that it was too long. I think there was a lot of stuff in here that could have been cut out because I didn't see, it was very much like the fantasy Stephen King, in my opinion.
Yeah.
it felt like there was a lot of like over descriptions and stuff, and I understand like needing to like build the world and talk about the magic system because it was like very in-depth description, and I appreciated everything like having like everything being described and talked about, and it wasn't just like, oh, we have magic and then that's it.
Right.
Like there's actually like rules and like these things work this way because, and I appreciated that. But there was just like a lot of some other stuff in there. I'm just like, I really don't care. Like, can we just get on to the action or something?
The thing is all those little details that you think aren't worth anything. I'm just saying. He plots to a series, not a book.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I get what you're saying. Absolutely.
I was reading it as like, I know it's a series, but I was reading it as like its own standalone because it almost could have been a standalone.
It almost could have been, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I did not like Vin at all. I hated her. She could have died, and I would have been happy with it, quite frankly. I just didn't like her. I think that her character was supposed to be like fairly young, but the way that she talked and the way that she was presented in the book made her seem a lot older than she was, and I didn't like that disparity or whatever it's called. I didn't like that, and I just didn't like her at all. I don't know what it was, but I just didn't like her.
Fair enough. She's not a terrible likable person.
No.
In the beginning, for sure.
No. Kelsier and Breeze and Elend were my 3 favorite characters.
Yeah, that's so funny because I did not like Elend in the first book.
Really?
I did not like him.
Oh my gosh, I loved him.
I was like, Finn needs to stay away from him.
No, I loved him so much. I love that he was just kind of like pouty in a like kind of like an uppity type of pout, and like he would just like defy his father in like these little ways that were really just kind of like stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like he would go sit and like read at the parties instead of dancing with girls. Like I don't know, I just freaking loved him so much the whole time. I just was like, I was falling for him. I understand why Ben liked him because I fell for Elend for sure.
It took me a lot longer to warm up to Elend.
Oh gosh, no. Even towards the end?
Yeah.
Oh.
It took me a long time. But I was much more, I would say, there are other plot lines that interested me a lot more than his. So I didn't really care about him. I didn't like him anyway, and I didn't like his story.
That's fair.
At first. At first.
That's fair. That's fair. But yeah, I don't know. Like I like this more than I thought I was going to like it. But yeah, I don't know. If these books were shorter, then I would probably like 100% continue on with the series. But I just feel like it was just too long. It was just like it's very similar to how I feel about a lot of Stephen King books. And it's just like I enjoy them, but they're just too long. I enjoyed it, but it was too long.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like it's good. Like he's an amazing writer. Like very good at world building and explaining and all of that, and I appreciated it very much, but it was a lot.
And that is his strong point. World building and magic systems are his strong point. Characters are not always his strong point.
Yeah.
That's a criticism most people have.
There were so many characters in this book, and quite frankly, I was struggling with keeping them all straight.
Yeah.
And even like the audiobook I don't think helped with that.
No.
But it was, yeah, there was just a lot of characters, and I didn't think that there needed to be that many side characters in this book. But maybe they come into play later. They probably do, but it's fine. We'll just move on, and then Kelly can just be sitting over here and like, I know so much that you don't know. If only you would continue with the series.
I'm just thinking about the moment I hit about midway through the 3rd book and had this,
it all makes sense.
Holy crap, what did he just do? Yeah. I was Sandersoned in that moment. when you realize what he's been doing the whole time. It's like, oh, wow. Truthfully, I did not care for Vin very much either in the beginning. But the magic caught me right off the bat. I wanted more of that magic. I wanted to know the things they could do. It was so cool. So cool. And yes, my heart was broken too. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. But.
And that was so early in the book.
I know, but there's. I'm not saying that he pulls a supernatural, but there are things that come along later on that involve Kelsier that not quite make up for it, but at least there's something. He wasn't supernatural, but there was some. Anyway, okay. I want to talk about it. Okay, shut my mouth.
Okay. So next I have The Butcher and the Wren by Alana Urquhart. This book is about a serial killer who is called the Bayou Butcher that starts dropping a lot of bodies around New Orleans, and it is up to the medical examiner, Dr. Wren Mueller, to try and bring him to justice. And I can't say that because it's a spoiler, so I won't say that. But it's up to her to bring him to justice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot. The music festival scene. Yeah. I read this book like 2 years ago. I still remember the music festival scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it wasn't bad.
No.
It's a very interesting premise.
Mm-hmm.
It kept me interested throughout the whole book.
Mm-hmm.
However, I felt like this book was very heavily technical. Like, too much.
Yeah.
Like, very much like, look at how much I know, and here's my experience, and it's just like, almost like, I expect my readers to know absolutely nothing, so here is everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a lot for me. I didn't like it. It felt more like I was reading a textbook rather than a fiction book, which I didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
Or even like a podcast, you could
Well,
almost say.
I was just gonna
it
say,
kind of read like she was like reading about
like
someone on the podcast,
doing
like,
her podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is fine on the podcast, but in a book, not so much.
Well, when you're talking about, a real life case and breaking down the facts and all of that, yeah, that's what you're on the podcast for.
Yeah.
But there's more to a fiction book than just breaking down the facts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
The Butcher was cool, though.
The Butcher was cool, and I liked how there was the dual POV in this one. So you got to see from the Butcher and from Wren throughout the whole book, and I loved getting to see into the mind of the Butcher. Mm-hmm. I thought that was really cool. It was good. Yeah, like just how. Oh my! It was unsettling, just how his mind worked, and the scenes with his killings and huntings and all of that was so good. And the twist at the end, I did not see coming. I did not at all expect those connections to be made.
How did you do with the timeline?
I don't think that it really added up all that well.
Did you know what was going on, like in the beginning with the timeline? I didn't either. And so when I hit that, I was completely, like, my brain fractured. And I could not put the story back together again after that. It was so hard. It was so hard to figure out what was going on and when, and I just didn't understand anymore.
Yeah, like it was a cool thing, but I don't think it quite flowed together like it needed to.
Yes.
Yeah. Like I think that's part of why it caught me off guard. Because I'm like, what? How? Yeah. Literally how? But I don't know, it was cool, and the whole that twist, and then the kind of cliffhanger or whatever thing at the end is what prompted me to keep going, because I'm like, okay, I kind of want to know. Like, I didn't hate this book enough to just stop, and I'm kind of intrigued now to continue on. So that's what I did with The Butcher Game. In that book, the Bayou Butcher is really out for blood yet again, because not only has Ren escaped from him once, but she escaped from him twice. And so he is really trying to punish her for that. And this one was better. I liked it better. It wasn't as technical. And it definitely had a lot more, like, darker moments in it. Like, it read more like a story and not as much as, like, a podcast, which was good. You still got the dual POV from the Butcher and Ren. I didn't care so much for Ren in the second book. She just seemed to have kind of lost a little bit of her backbone, and like her, I don't know, like in the first book she just seemed kind of like, she wasn't like super timid. Like, she was like, we're gonna catch this guy, like, I know what's happening, like, this is what happened, like, whatever. And in the second book she definitely was a lot more scared, which is understandable given what happens in the first book. But I still kind of expected her to be a little bit more like a, you know,
fighter.
Yeah, because she fought a lot in the first book.
Yes, she did.
So I would have expected a little bit more fight in the second, but I didn't quite get that. I also didn't like the Butcher as much in the second book. I feel like his character kind of changed, but not for the better. It was just, I feel like he presented himself differently in the second book. Like, when the first one, it was very, like, he was very calculating. Everything he did, like, he was so calculated, and like you could see his mind working and putting all of it together, like, whatever. And in the second one, it was just, he was very emotional in a way. Like, he wasn't thinking as much. It was kind of just like he's grasping for straws, and he's like on the run and like just doing things that made no sense, and it didn't match up with his character. Like, it didn't make sense for his character, I didn't think. I also kind of feel like his character strayed, because first I was thinking like she's trying to make him like Bundy, like kind of charming, charming evil. But then in the second book, he was just mean, just rude. There was no charm left, and I'm like, this doesn't make sense. It didn't add up. So I'm like, I don't know. The ending was absolutely poo-poo in the second book. I will not be continuing on with the series because the ending was so bad. I hated it. I hated it so much. So, yeah, sorry. I will still listen to Morbid, like I said, but I will not be continuing on with the series. Best of luck, though. I'm sure the third book will sell great.
When I read this, she hadn't put out the second one yet, and so I had planned on reading the second book, but in the meantime, you know, I lost track of, you know, moved on. It didn't stick with me enough that I was like pre-ordered the next one or anything, and now I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, I vaguely remember the book, but I don't think I need to. I'm not gonna read it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna read it.
They're not, neither one of them I think are books that you're going to like remember. Like, they're not gonna like really stick with you.
Well, the thing that stuck with me most was the one stupid thing. It was so dumb.
Yeah.
So anyway,
It happens.
It happens.
So, okay. Next we have Odd Thomas by Dean Koontz, the one that took me forever to read for absolutely no reason, because I loved this book. It was such a good book. So this is about Odd Thomas, who is a fried cook at the Pico Mundo Grill. And he has the ability to see death, pretty much. He can see ghosts, he can see people who are maybe like on the brink of death. He just kind of has this sixth sense type of ability. And one day he sees this man out walking at the mall or somewhere, and he is surrounded by these things called bodaks, which are like one of the biggest signs of like death. If there's a lot of Bodaks around, it means there's going to be a lot of death happening. And this man had a ton of them around him. So Odd started to think that this guy was going to be involved in some type of like mass murder, mass killing spree, like whatever. And he took it upon himself to then try and figure out what was going to happen and stop it before it did happen. And this was a wild ride, man. This book kept me intrigued from start to finish, even though it took me so long to read it. Like, I really don't know why it took me so long, because every time I picked it up, I was just like right there in Pico Mundo with Odd, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I was crying in the front seat with Elvis. I was running from the Bodaks. I was like, oh my gosh, I was there. I loved it so much. And Odd is such a unique character.
Odd is great.
I loved him.
Odd is great.
I loved him. And I also really like Stormy, which was his girlfriend in the book. Well, fiance, whatever, eventually fiance. And I thought that they were a great pair. I thought their little love story was really, really cute. I do think that all of the side characters, like, I like the side characters, but I thought that including their stories and everything was a little unnecessary because we had so much else going on. Didn't need to really add in all of the side characters and all of that. It would have been enough with just trying to figure out who's gonna kill everybody. Because that was a lot in and of itself.
I think that was part of Odd's character, though.
Yeah.
It was showing how Odd dealt with people. Like, he knew everybody. He didn't not just their names or not just their regular orders. Like, he knew everybody.
Yeah.
Everything about it. So I think that was kind of his
fair.
character.
That is fair.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, Odd's great. Odd is great.
Yeah. It was a very unique book, but I mean that in like the best way possible. Like, it was good. And the twist at the end, I screamed.
Right?
I was so mad.
Right?
Like, this is not happening. I refuse to accept this ending.
And I watched the movie before I read the book, and the movie does not follow the book at the end.
Oh, that's good to know, but like,
and
so the book really caught you off guard then.
Really did, and I did not like it.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you.
I mean, I did like it.
It left me gutted.
Yes, I mean, and in that way, it was a good ending.
Yeah.
But I don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I don't know. It was really good. I don't know if I'm going to continue with the series. Just because it took me so long to read this one, I'm worried that it might take me a long time to read the others. Because I don't know why this one took so long. So until I can figure that out, we're not going to continue on with this series. But this one was good. And this could definitely be a standalone book.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
easy.
it's not like there was a cliffhanger at the end. Like, it wrapped up pretty well. So I think the rest of the books, if I was reading them correctly, they're just kind of like their own little individual odd mysteries kind of a thing.
Yep, I think so.
So I don't feel the need to continue on with the series. I had my little taste of Pico Mundo and I'm happy. But yeah, it was good. Next, I read Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak. I think that's how you say his name. Sorry if I'm wrong. But this book is about a recovering drug addict named Mallory who gets a job working as a live-in babysitter for this little boy named Teddy. And he, like, while she's watching him one day, like, he has this, like, nap time or room time, whatever, that's like in the day, and during that he starts like drawing pictures and stuff. And at first, like, they're really normal pictures that a 5-year-old kid would draw, but then they start to turn a little sinister in nature, and then they start to get like way above his ability as a 5-year-old, like what he could draw and things like that. And so Mallory starts having to like dig around to figure out what is really going on when Teddy's alone in his room. and what these pictures might mean, because some of them involve bodies and being dragged through the woods and
Ooh.
dead girls and things.
Spooky, spooky.
Spooky, spooky.
Spooky.
And it definitely has some creepy vibes in this book. Like, there were some times where I was reading it at night and I was getting a little freaked out.
Mm-hmm.
And it has, in the book, it has the pictures that he drew
Oh.
in there. So you can see
Oh.
all of the pictures.
Oh.
And that just added to the creepiness of
I
it.
don't like visual aids in my horror books. That's the reason I can read horror books, is they're not visual.
Well, there wasn't anything like super like graphic or gory about them. It was just like you knew what was happening. But yeah, it was good. It definitely, like I said, had a lot of creepy moments. It kept me interested from start to finish. I had absolutely no idea what was going on. I mean, like, and where it was going. I didn't know, like, how we were going to get the explanation as to who was drawing these pictures, because we knew it wasn't Teddy. So I'm like, how in the world are these pictures getting drawn? Like, what's happening? Who is in the room with him? I had no idea. No idea. And the end was like a total shock to me in a lot of ways. One of the ways it was a shock was like a little out there. But in the end, I didn't mind it. At first, I was like, okay, Jason, calm down. And then I'm just like, you know what? Actually, no, because this just shows us how crazy this character be. So, you know, it worked out. It was okay. And I also really appreciated how Mallory, the main character, wasn't stupid. I love that. It's so rare that we get a male thriller author who writes a female character that isn't stupid.
Or damaged.
Yes.
Or
which, I mean, granted,
broken.
she did have like the damage aspect. She's a recovering addict, but that didn't really come through as much. Like, she was definitely very much like a go-getter. She was really strong in staying away from her addiction and all. Like, she was just a good character, which was refreshing for a thriller written by a dude. You don't get that a lot.
we like smart characters.
We do. And she wasn't afraid to like confront the parents of Teddy about what was going on, which I thought was wild, even though the things that she was saying was like, I would have thought she was crazy 100%, and I would have been concerned that they would have thought I was crazy, which they did think she was crazy, but like
But she wasn't.
No, like, it was really good. It was really well done. I enjoyed it, and yeah, it definitely kept me intrigued, and it was creepy. So
There you go.
good job, Jason. I will be reading more from him. He has another one that's like some people at this wedding or something about a wedding. I don't know. There's another one that he has out that's supposed to be good, so I'm gonna read that one. Okay, my final book, Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey. I don't know why I'm smiling this big, like I loved it, because I did it. I started reading this book physically, and I gave up about, I don't even know, 20 pages in, because I hated the writing. And it was just like, I could not get into it, and it's just something about the way that it was written. I can't even tell you what it was. I just didn't like it. And so I switched over to an audiobook, because this book has a really great premise. And that premise is, since I forgot to say what it was. And it is. So this girl, Vera, she gets called home by her mother, who is dying. And her and her mother are pretty much estranged, I guess. Like, they don't have a good relationship at all. They're not close. Vera was really close to her dad, but her dad died in jail because he was a serial killer. Yeah, but her and her dad were really close, and they had the best relationship. And so when her mom calls her home, it's pretty much so that way she can be there to take care of the estate and get everything ready, because she is going to die, her mother. And so she needs Vera there to take care of everything, so that way, whatever. And her family home is where her mother still resides, which is also where her dad did all of his killing. And so While Vera is there, some weird things happen at the house, and we kind of have to see how the town handles Vera and her family, because, you know, they never left the town where her dad killed all the people. So that was kind of odd, but whatever.
Yeah.
And then there's also this guy who is living in the back cottage of the house or whatever, who is the son to a book author or whatever that wrote a story about them previously. And this guy that's living out there now is the son, and he's like an artist who's trying to capture the essence of the house, the Crowder house, and whatever. I don't know. He's weird and not a good person.
Not in a good way.
No. So yeah, like, it has a really good premise. I love anything that involves serial killers, and I like that we got to have a look, like, it flashed back to when her dad was still in the house and when she was younger, and we got to see into his serial killing a little bit, which I appreciated. And there were some moments that definitely I was like, what? I did not see that coming. Like, oh my gosh. There were some creepy moments. Like, the scenes in here dealing with the weird things happening in the house and the serial killer stuff were really good. There just wasn't enough of them, I didn't think. And the rest of the book was just so slow. And I didn't think that the way that the townspeople were handling, like, Vera being back was really realistic. And I don't know. Like, I just didn't like the rest of the book. The ending surprised me, and I don't know if I was surprised in a good or a bad way. I think it was a mix of both, because I was like, oh my god, like, what is happening, but also like, oh my god, what is happening? Like, this is weird, but also like, oh my god, this is weird. Like, I had so many mixed feelings for the end. And yeah, like, it was the best part of the book. Like, the second, maybe like the last third of the book was really pretty good, and then the whole rest of it was just so slow. It was so slow. Like, nothing was happening. It was just pretty much we're following Vera while she's trying to go through the house, and she has some flashbacks. I don't know. It was a unique book. The ending was unique.
That I will not be repeating.
I will not read more from her again. That writing, I just can't get past it, and I don't know what it was. It just was like, it seemed like so, like, cold, and like, it wasn't natural. I didn't think, the way that it was written, because it was like it was all written in third person. I think that's the one, because it was always referring to, like, Vera said this and Daphne and like whatever, like, yeah. But I just didn't, it just felt like almost technical. I don't know. I just didn't like it.
It's very formal.
That's the word. There it was.
Because, like, I just flipped open to a page, and this one, it says, "Why are you so dirty?" Vera asks when her father has come to sit on her bed and told her that there is, definitely, no one but the two of them in the room. That, just the phrase, has come, when her father has come to sit on her bed, instead of saying when her father sat on the bed.
Yeah.
It's a much more formal way of writing.
Yeah, it was that way, like, the whole way through the book, and I think that's why I couldn't do it, like, a physical read of it, because it didn't flow well enough for me to be able to focus in enough to physically read it.
Yeah.
But for an audiobook, it wasn't bad. The audiobook definitely was a lot better. But I don't know. I wouldn't recommend it, because even though it had serial killers and ghosts, I didn't like it.
And a haunted house.
Yeah, those are like my 3 top things, you know, in a book. Disappointed.
I mean, that's why I have really high hopes for this one, Green Teeth, that I just got, because it's fae, it's folklore, it's found family, and it's for fans of T. Kingfisher.
Oh, so it's
A
Your
big
perfect book.
4 F's for me. Fae, folklore, found family, fan of taking. And I'm scared.
Hopefully it doesn't
Because I should love it.
Yeah.
I should absolutely love it. Oh, come on, get in there.
Oh, I just added this one to my
I
TBR.
saw that. I saw that. Yeah, it was one of mine that I was going to pre-order and then ended up not having to because it was my Book of the Month club. But yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah. Supernatural, thriller, road trip.
What more do you need? That's pretty much describes my favorite TV show.
I mean, a young girl and her 2 protectors are on the run, on a road trip, on the run from cultists and the government.
Perfect.
I'm like, damn. Yeah. TJ Klune's not an auto buy for me. I mean, I like sort of his books. It's kind of hit or miss. But that tagline, supernatural road thriller, or thriller road trip. That was, yeah.
That's all I need to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, yeah. Okay, well that's all I have for my books. So, that means that's gonna do it for us today.
Yeah. Our massive wrap up.
Oh my gosh, this video is like 45 minutes long. But we hope that you enjoyed watching
Yes.
and listening to us talk about the books we read in February. Great reading months for us. In quantity, not typically, not necessarily quality, but definitely quantity.
Yes.
Words are hard. If you did enjoy watching this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, go on down below the video and hit the red subscribe button. Join the Everyday Adventurer family so you can see our beautiful faces every Sunday and sometimes Monday with new videos.
Once a week.
Yeah, once a week. There
Once a
we go.
week.
I like that better. You'll see
Once
us.
a week.
You'll see us once a week.
In the vicinity of Sunday.
Yes. Sometimes twice a week if I accidentally miss a week like I did this last time. So you know.
I kind of wondered about that one. I was like, did I forget? So what did I forget?
Nope. It's coming out tomorrow.
All right. Well, bonus content.
Bonus content. But anyway, speaking of bonus content, you can also go and follow us over on Instagram and TikTok at Everyday Epic Book Club.
There you go. And while you're doing all that, also make sure you check out the rest of Amy's channel because it's not just book stuff. She has got lots of shopping. She's got holiday decorating. She's got home renovations. There's cooking and kitty cats all over the place. So check all that out. And if you still want some more, go over and read her blog as well, where she has features like Watch It Wednesdays and Foodie Fridays. So do all that and become a part of the entire Everyday Adventurer family.
Yeah. And tell your friends, tell your family, because guess what? We're 89 subscribers away from hitting 1,000.
Oh, come on, people.
Yeah.
Bring them in.
Yeah.
Welcome to the family.
Yes.
Join the family.
Join the family.
We still gotta get t-shirts.
We do, yeah. But anyway, with all that being said, hope you enjoyed watching the video. And I'm Amy.
And I'm Kelly.
And we are
The Everyday Epic.
We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.